Hello, everyone. Jermaine Griggs here, entrepreneur and motivational speaker, and I am so honored and privileged to have back in my studio Mrs. Kristi Eddy, who the first time you joined me, you were Mrs. Carson America.
Yep.
Right? Representing your city, go Carson.
Carson.
And you went to the California pageant, statewide pageant. You won.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Y'all give her a hand, right? You won Mrs. California America, and now you are back representing Miss California America, all of California, going to the Mrs. America pageant in August.
In August.
Right? And if you win that, going
to Mrs. World.
Wow. So help me in welcoming. I know you all are out there in cyberspace, but help me in welcoming Mrs. California America. So glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. And how does it feel? How does it feel? Tell all the folks out there.
Every day I wake up thinking, wow, this really happened. It's still, even though it happened a little less than a month ago, it's still sinking in. Every day. I have a list of things to do, of course, to prepare for Mrs. America, so that keeps me really busy. But every time I interact with a student or someone new, or they see me in the crowd and I get that response from people, that's when I feel like, wow, I really am. I'm representing the whole state. I feel so honored and so blessed to be in this position to represent not just my city or county, but the entire state of California.
That is a big deal. I mean, tell me that first day when you even decided to do this, and then looking back at that first day when you go online and you figure out the process.
Right.
Now you're on the other end of that as Mrs. California. How does that work?
It seems to have gone so fast. I still remember the moment I Googled Mrs. California just to see if there was a Mrs. competition. I had no idea. And then the decision to apply, and now, 8 or 9 months later, I'm here with a crown that I never would have dreamed. As a kid, I never would have dreamed I would have been in a beauty pageant, let alone won a beauty pageant.
Wow.
So just thinking back to how those small decisions can really make a huge difference in the outcome of your life. That's what I keep thinking, like, wow, what if I never would have applied? I would have missed on this wonderful opportunity.
Small decisions, right?
Right.
And it's to those who say, I'm going to go do something that I've never done before, which leads me to my next question. People might look at you now as Miss California with your nice crown on and looking all beautiful and such, and they may say, this is what she does. This is what she's been doing to get to this point. Is that true?
Yeah, no, not at all. I was never in a pageant before. I did not grow up in pageants. This was my very first one, completely brand new experience. And it was definitely a learning experience. I had a lot of fun, but it was so new. It's literally an entirely different world. Like they have the phrase, the pageant world. There is the pageant world.
There's the pageant world.
And I was the newbie. I was the tourist in the pageant world. But
Really?
I had a wonderful experience. It was definitely new. I think about being, in college and then in graduate school and taking on a new career. This was another one of those life steps, was joining this pageant world. Yes.
Right. So out of the women competing to be Mrs. California America, were you one of the newer ones, like the new kid on the block?
I was. I think there were only about 4 of us that had never done pageants before, and everyone else had done pageants or modeling or something of that realm before. But yeah, I think it was 4 of us that were completely brand new, trying to look at how everyone else was standing and how everyone else was holding their shoulders, trying to figure out what we're supposed to do.
So you're like this. Let me just do what she's doing. I mean, but it seems like this year is the year of breakout. There's a lot of breakout stars and movies out, people we've never seen before. So that speaks to the power of just do it, right? No excuses. If you want something in your heart, go reach for it.
That's true. Go for it, because you never know. Don't be the one person that limits yourself, right? The whole world can put a huge weight on your shoulders. You don't want to add to it.
Right. So you're proof. You don't have to have the history or this long path. Just decide.
Yeah, just decide that, hey, this is something I want to do, and do it for a great purpose.
Right. Will Smith has this the video, you've probably seen it. He says, just decide.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that comes to mind when I think of you. And so, I mean, talk about the pageant, the challenges. What are some of the good things? What are some of the bad things? If someone wants to follow in your path, how does it go?
I would say the greatest part was really how genuine the pageant director was and the contestants were. They really say that Mrs. California is a pageant about exceptional married women. It's not about being, the tallest, the prettiest, the skinniest, or anything like that. There is a beauty score, but that's not really defined. It's about really being the best you. And I honestly feel like that's how they judged the competition. And that's really how the director and everyone involved treated the women. I had a wonderful time meeting everybody. And I really felt like there were so many amazing women there that were there for a purpose.
Right.
Being able to really push my platform around women's reproductive health was also really wonderful. Just being able to be on the stage and say, my platform is beyond medicine, advocating for women by ending the silence on the risks and prevalence of impaired fertility, and being able to literally be on a stage and say that.
You got that down too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yes. I know it like my name. Being able to have that platform was amazing. The challenges. So I'm at work they say I'm very type A. So I have to-do lists for everything, and I'm very step by step. So being that type of personality, I didn't really sleep a lot at the pageant because I was running like my introductory speech through in my head. I was trying to remember how I'm going to stand, how I'm going to walk in. And so I didn't really sleep. I laid down and I closed my eyes, but I didn't really rest. So that was a challenge. And just never being on a stage ever. This isn't me. I'm not the fashion show or anything like that where you're on a public stage, and being on that stage and trying to control my nerves, also a challenge.
With the shiny lights and stuff?
Yeah, with huge lights where you can see people, but you can't really see people.
You couldn't really see. Could you see your hubby?
Yes, I could see him. I could see my large group of supporters. That was so wonderful. There were like 23 or 24 people that came out to the pageant to support me, and they had signs. I was able to see the signs. I may not have been able to see their faces, but I could see their signs.
Let's talk about your hubby, my good friend. I've been knowing Ian for must be 20 years now. We went to high school together. And the thing about this pageant is it's Mrs. It's not Miss.
Right.
You kind of already talked about it. It's exceptional married women.
Right.
So can you talk about that part of the pageant?
Yeah, so the phrase being an exceptional married woman, that really is the essence of the pageant. So it's about being an amazing wife, which in my opinion, a wife is, supportive of her husband. The husband and wife work as a team. You have a common goal and mission. And of course, you absolutely love each other. So being that and also being an amazing professional woman, also being a woman that is involved in the community. So it's not just about being a housewife like how it was back in the 40s when it was about ironing a man's shirt and
is all that what the questions were back then?
I think that was part of it was just something that you had to be able to do. I'm not sure. I never found like a script, but I was reading about it, and that was you had to be able to know how to do that to compete. Not anymore.
I know if my wife competed, she ain't ironed my shirt in a long time. I ironed my own shirt.
Yeah, thank goodness for the dry cleaners, because I don't know if I could properly iron a shirt. But yeah, and he's been such an amazing support. I could not have gotten through this without him, because all of the not sleeping, the stress, the practicing. I rearranged the furniture, and I had a large mirror up in the middle of the hallway so I could practice my walking. Yeah. He's been taking care of a lot of things at home just because I've been out and so busy, and he's just been so supportive. When I'm panicked and high stressed, he's just calm.
I can tell. You should see what he texts me. Yo, bro. So that's awesome. And it's awesome that this competition honors that aspect of it. Right?
Absolutely.
Not to take anything away from the single miss competition. And
but it's great. I think marriage actually has a stigma around it nowadays. People always want to throw out statistics. So 50% of marriages end in divorce. I feel like that's the first thing you hear. Maybe it's just amongst younger people. Right. But I feel like you hear that a lot. And I don't think you should look at a statistic to determine the path of your life. And so I really like the fact that this is the premier competition for married women. Absolutely.
Tell me the moment they called your name, because it's not like they say first, second, third. They do it backwards.
Yes. Which, again, being the rookie, the newbie to pageants, I was questioning, honestly, when they were saying the names. I was thinking, okay, so are they going to say first runner-up, next, or the winner? And there were the three of us, the top three. We had answered our second onstage question, and we were standing in the center. I was posed with my hand on my hip and trying to remember all of the things that you're supposed to do, as a pageant girl. And then they called the second runner-up, and it wasn't my name. So I remember thinking, like, okay, so that means I'm either first runner-up or I won. And so I'm thinking in my mind, it's been a great experience. I've had a wonderful time. I never thought I would have done this in my life. These are all the things that are running through my mind as they're preparing to say the first runner-up. And then they say the first runner-up, and they don't announce my name. And so I remember thinking, wait, is that the winner? The first winner up? Like, no. And then I see them bringing a plaque to the other contestant. And then I turned to where my husband was sitting and the crowd was cheering. It was so loud. And then I just started smiling. I broke my pose. I just bent over and like thanked the judges. It's the pictures look very hilarious. It captures all of the raw emotion. I was just so stunned because growing up, I was teased so much. Like being in a beauty pageant was just nothing I ever would have thought for myself as a child. And just to be on this stage representing married women, African-American women, women of color, educators, all of the amazing people that I represent, and being able to say I'm Mrs. California it was breathtaking, honestly. I didn't really have much to say. I was just smiling and walking.
Wow. Awe-inspiring. You talked about your childhood. Tell us about that, because juxtaposing this moment, being represented and congratulated, honored for these things, and then going back to your childhood, there's a difference there.
There's a huge, huge difference. So growing up, I had groups of friends, like everyone has their friends, but I knew I was different, meaning I remember the moment I was told, Black people stink by a girl. I was playing Pogs, not to date myself or anything. we were playing Pogs.
You had a slammer.
And yeah, you had the slammer. Yep, and you could get them from McDonald's, the Happy Meals. I'm remembering all of this now. And she said that, and even though I was 6, I remember that. And I remember people talking about my hair. My mom cut off all my hair when I was about, not all of it, but she cut it very short when I was about 7. I was in 2nd grade, and it was kind of a fro, but like a curly fro, and there were so many negative comments made about it. I didn't really go to school with students that looked like me. I remember kids like throwing pieces of paper in my hair, trying to stick pencils in my hair. This one girl would like poke her lips out and say like, "Oh, I look like Kristi," implying that my lips are big. I remember crying in the chapstick aisle of Vons because there was this popular like skinny chapstick, and when you're 9, you don't get lipstick, you get chapstick. So, and I really wanted it, but then I looked at how skinny it was, and it got me thinking about how big my lips were, and I was crying in the Vons in San Pedro. I still remember this. And there were just so many things like that where I would just wish my hair was straight, like the girls I went to school with. I would go to pool parties, and goodness gracious, I remember like trying to get the chlorine out of my hair and actually putting hand lotion in my hair because I didn't know about hair creams or anything like that to try to make my hair less curly. And I feel like I was taught to not appreciate my appearance, taught that I wasn't as beautiful as other girls. And that was such a toxic way to grow up. Luckily, I was able to go to college and really learn about my ancestral roots and African history and really appreciated my appearance. And I was around like-minded women that were very confident, very intelligent, very culturally conscious. And it completely changed my outlook on myself. And I know I'm not the only girl that grew up like this. I actually did a PSA called Beauty Is with a bunch of women, and a lot of the stories that they told about their beauty development was around hair, race, cultural features that we're just taught to dislike. And just thinking now that I'm representing the state of California as a quote unquote beauty queen, like I'm the same person. I could be 6 feet tall, I could be 4'5", I could be 300 pounds, I could be 100 pounds. I'm still the same person that has made the same accomplishments, done the same great things. And just thinking back to my younger self, I wish I knew then what I knew now about beauty is much more than what you look like. And don't let anyone try to define what beauty is to you. And just thinking back to...
Can you tell them in the camera? If a young girl's watching you right now, tell her that.
You do not let anyone control how you perceive your own beauty. Beauty is completely undefined. It's whatever you make it out to be. This is 2017. There is no reason for us to be trying to define ourselves based on someone else's or society's standards of beauty. And I truly believe that I try to get that message across to my students and any young girls I come across, because I know what it's like to be teased. I know what it's like to really hate your appearance. And that can really send someone into depression or a serious bad place over appearance, something so superficial. And I refuse to be a beauty queen that reinforces beauty standards. I can't do it. I've suffered from that, and I can't put that on other people. Beauty is whatever you make it out to be. And I just felt participating in a beauty pageant would be a wonderful way to gain a platform for the bigger mission and purpose in my life. But yeah, thinking back to as a kid, I never, ever would have dreamed that I would be in a beauty pageant.
Wow. Speaking of the kids and your students, how did that feel? And what was that like to go back to your school where you are assistant principal and talk about that, what you do? And that moment that you were able to go back to your students, how did that feel like? And what did they say?
It was really exciting. So because the competition was in the summertime, we had summer school, and we also have what's called the 9th grade summer bridge program. So all the 8th graders that are going to be our incoming 9th graders, they're there for like a 2-week like technology classes and school culture classes and those kind of fun things. And so the older students that were in summer school, they knew I was going to Mrs. California, and they had heard because staff had told them. And so they ran up to me and gave me a hug. Oh, congratulations. We're so excited. Are you going to be on TV? Asking those questions. And then the 9th graders had actually seen my picture on the school website. And so when they saw me, a couple of them were like, wait, that's you? You're on the school website. You're in a beauty pageant? I'm like, yeah, I was. They're like, wait, you won? Yeah, I did. But you work here? I said, of course I work here. Of course I work here. And I don't know if that's because, the city of Watts has a stigma, or students just detach assistant principal and beauty queen. They don't see those two things going together. But I told them, absolutely, I work here, and I'm going to continue working here. I love my students. I love my school site. I love being where I am for those interactions. Just seeing that, I was like, wow, like this is you. And I kind of thought of myself as a teenager, like, yeah, if my assistant principal said, yeah, I was in a beauty pageant, I would probably think, what? Wait a minute.
Right.
But I want to let them know that this is real. You know someone that has accomplished something like this, and you can do this or something else great.
And on the other hand, she hasn't left us. She's come back.
Oh, yes.
Because
absolutely.
A lot of people might realize that, like when people, maybe athletes or anybody, does something and they leave, right? And we never see them again. So maybe they have it connected with, if you're in a newspaper and I want to get to your article and you're going to be on TV and you mean you're coming back to us, how does that make you feel?
Right. It really reminds me of why I'm doing the work that I'm doing, because my students oftentimes, they are used to people leaving, whether that's in their personal lives or at school. And it's so important to be there and be that continued constant influence on them. There wouldn't be a real purpose in me trying to do this if it weren't to try to inspire younger people like myself. And working at a high school, I have access to 540 students every day. So I'm going to do everything I can to try to inspire them, who they may have felt like I did when I was younger, maybe not as confident, very doubtful, and then show them that, yes, you can do this. You know someone. This is Mrs. Eddy. I'm also Mrs. California. I'm still your assistant principal. Like, you know someone that can do this. Believe in yourself, and you can do this.
Absolutely. That's the best message. I've always wanted to put on glasses when I read the newspaper, but knock on wood, I don't need them. But you were here on the front page, and it says, there she is, Mrs. California. A 29-year-old assistant principal of technology-focused high school could be the next Mrs. America. And I quote you, you said, I never thought I would be in a beauty pageant. I grew up getting teased, like you said, about my hair and feeling so down and depressed. So to think now at 29, I won a beauty pageant with no experience. Wow, this is amazing. And indeed it is. And what would you tell to someone else that wants to go down this path?
Go for it. Be sure that you're doing it for the right purpose. I wasn't chasing a crown or a sash or a title. That didn't really matter to me. I saw this as the opportunity to build on a platform to reach women, than millions and millions of women in the state of California and hopefully nationally, to talk about the importance of reproductive health care and spread awareness on the serious crisis that we have going on the lack of health care for women's fertility issues. And I saw it as a way to inspire my students. Right. And so that was the foundation that I was standing on. I always knew that I was doing it for that purpose. I was not sleeping for that purpose. I was going to practices for that purpose. So if you want to enter a beauty pageant, especially the Mrs. California pageant, be sure that you're really standing on a solid foundation, because I think this is a wonderful platform to advocate for whatever cause you feel is very important.
And speaking of causes, and you've kind of gone into it, reproductive health, can you talk about your organization? You did in the first interview, but can you, maybe someone hasn't seen that interview, talk about your story and what led you to be so concerned and want to participate in this cause?
Right. So back in 2012, I was in the emergency room. I actually thought they were going to take out my appendix because I had bad pain in my side. And it was the first time I'd had this kind of pain. And I'm wheeled back, and because by that time it was so bad I couldn't walk. And I was doing a scan, and I knew there was a problem whenever the technician had to call over another technician and ask a question. I thought, oh, this probably isn't appendicitis. But I hadn't been told anything about anything. This just happened one day. Fast forward a few days later, I'm having surgery to remove my right ovary and the tumor that had taken over it. So, and I had no symptoms, no warning. I wasn't someone that was just busy and didn't go to the doctor. I went to the doctor. I had my exams. I had blood tests, and there were no signs or symptoms for this cyst that became a tumor because it was actually growing things. And I won't go into the graphic details, but
you did last time.
It was growing. Yeah, it was growing tumor. Let's just say that it was a little larger than a tennis ball, but no symptoms. And so after that surgery, I started researching this cyst. It's called a dermoid cyst, and I found out that 80% of women will have a cyst in their lifetime. 20% of those cysts are going to be the tumors like I had. I also found out that there's an entire category called impaired fertility. It's a kind of category of a medical condition. And there's many conditions that fall under that, one of which is mine, since I had a reproductive surgery. There's miscarriages fall under that category. And 20% of all pregnancies end in miscarriage. There's about 1 million miscarriages a year in the United States.
Wow.
And people hardly talk about that. And I understand it's hard to, but I believe that we need to create a space for that. If we're talking about PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, all of these things that have super high statistics, I was finding this information. I thought, why is no one talking about this? Women in America, and this is actually something I just recently found out, women in America are more likely to have or need a reproductive surgery than they are to own a home.
Wow.
That's how widespread these fertility issues are, and no one's talking about it. And so I thought, this is not okay. Women are 50% of the U.S. population. Where's the money going into the research? If you want to try to find how many women are dealing with infertility that have had reproductive surgery, you can't find that information. They don't conduct that research. There's a gap there. And so I felt like, well, if there's no real preventative care information, let my story be that preventative care. I know there's other women's stories out there that can be the kind of non-medical preventative care for other women, to spread awareness on how to fight for an ultrasound at the doctor, to see if you're okay, because that's the only form of early detection. So after all this research and frustration, in 2016, I founded the Women's Ovarian and Medical Education Network. And the reason why there was kind of that 4-year time span was because I was doing a lot of this research, but then also once you get married, right, the next question is, when you guys having kids? And it's people say it in a nice way. They're very well intentioned, but it really got me thinking, like, well, I mean, hopefully we can, you know? And I know I'm not the only woman that feels this way, looking at the statistics and the numbers. And so that's what really pushed me post-marriage to start the actual nonprofit. And I have a wonderful board of directors. We've come up with a lot of great ideas for community forums that we want to have. We're in the process of trying to raise money for those. And I'll actually say it here today on this interview, kicking off not myself, but the nonprofit and our board, we're kicking off a awareness campaign, a health awareness campaign called Save Your Ovaries. Wow. And we're going to do it through social media with a hashtag. And Save Your Ovaries is a campaign that's designed to raise awareness on the importance of early detection through ultrasounds. So we want to push women to request ultrasounds at their doctor, even if they notice the slightest little difference in how they're feeling. It's really just to let people know, ask for an ultrasound, ask for an ultrasound, ask for an ultrasound. It's literally the only way that you can prevent a lot of these infertility causing situations.
Right.
So we really want to push it through that.
And with ultrasounds, I heard, or maybe it was our first interview, sometimes it's not easy to get one. Like, you really have to advocate for yourself.
You really do. You really do. There's been a lot of women that have contacted our nonprofit or contacted me directly saying, oh, thank you for, telling me to say this and this at the doctor. I was able to get an ultrasound, and now I'm going in for a second because they found such and such. Wow. One person that I know, it was really a struggle, and they actually told her, no, stop panicking. You don't need an ultrasound. They told her that at the doctor. And then she ended up needing one because they did something else, and now she needs to have one because of something else that they found. Wow. And it's all about, I believe in, insurance companies and what they say is covered and what's not covered. And so you really have to know what to say in order to make your ultrasound be medically necessary.
Right.
But the issue is that there's no real symptoms for women's fertility, so you're never really going to have a set cause until it's too late. And that's where the crisis sets in. Like with me, I had my exams and I didn't have any symptoms, but I didn't have an ultrasound. Had I had an ultrasound, they could have removed the cyst before it became a gigantic tumor. This is the United States. We spend so much money on medical research. I just don't understand why women's fertility health is left out to this extent. For a scan like an ultrasound that is so quick, it's literally 15 minutes, the machine rolls around. It doesn't take anything additional except another 15 minutes from a nurse. It should automatically be covered. It could prevent so many other conditions down the line. And we have so many advances in technology and money spent on all of this stuff, and we have drones flying around and all of these advances, but yet we can't figure out why there's 1 million miscarriages in the United States a year. And we just tell women, oh, it's okay. It's normal that you're having those pains. Oh, every woman's a little different. And then you have women ending up in the ER, getting cysts removed, fibroids removed, being told that they can't have kids. It's just, it's not acceptable. It has to end. And I'm here to end that silence on that issue.
How can people stand with you? What's your website, and how can they get in contact with you if this really resonates or they have questions about it?
So the website for the nonprofit is www.thewomeninc.org. You can contact us directly through that website. You can read the stories of other women that have gone through all various types of fertility-related issues. You can see news articles and research on all different types of fertility-related issues. There is a lack of information, so it can be hard to find. So we wanted to be sure to have a section on the website to provide that research and information. There's also, we're conducting a local prevalence study since there is no information on fertility statistics in the Los Angeles area. We are conducting that research. So there is a prevalence study that is completely anonymous. If people want to participate in that, that would really help us out when it comes to, gaining funding and wanting to do more formal research. This is that first step. So that could be very helpful as well.
So you're able to take this message now to the American stage as competing for Mrs. America. Yes. What are you doing in preparation? What do things change between your last appearance and this next appearance? When is it? How can people tune in? Give us some insight on that.
So it's very quick. So Mrs. California was on June 24th, and Mrs. America is August 26th.
Wow.
But it starts for the competitors on August 19th. So there's a very small window. It's just like the election, how California is the last. We're the last for the pageant system as well. And so there's a very small window to prepare. I need to raise a lot of money. Being new to pageants, I didn't realize how expensive things were. So I do need to raise money to get there. I'm also fundraising through what's called the Fabulous Face Contest. Mrs. America has a Fabulous Face Contest on their website. You'll see my picture, and all donations go towards their foundation, Victoria's Voice, as well as other nonprofits that they are connected to. And it's just $2.50 to donate. And so that's something I'm working on, is raising awareness for that cause as well, and raising as much money as possible for them. The contestant that raises the most money is automatically in the top 15. So there's an incentive to that as well. So pushing that, fundraising, getting out in the community as much as possible. I have a few engagements coming up. Really pushing my platform as much as possible, because honestly, beauty pageants come and go. Like 2017 will come and go. We'll have a new queen, but this cause around women's reproductive health, that's going to stay. And so I'm really trying to find as many opportunities as possible to get that message across, on top of practicing in the mirror my walking as well, leading up to Mrs. America.
But what a way to launch your nonprofit organization and your platform. So congratulations on that. And specific websites that we'll put in the links in this video, where can people go to specifically help you fundraise to get you to, where is it going to be at?
It's in Las Vegas, the Westgate. Same day as the Mayweather fight, but it's before the Mayweather fight.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. So Las Vegas is going to be...
Las Vegas will be a very live place on August 26th.
Wow.
So yeah, everyone can go to my website. It has information about myself, how to vote for the Fabulous Face, how to donate, information on my nonprofit. I'm also pushing my message of undefined beauty through a line of clothing called Beauty Is. If you want to purchase Beauty Is clothing to promote that concept that beauty is undefined and we shouldn't follow society's standards, you can get that information and shop on my website as well. It's www.mrscalifornia2017.com.
Okay, all spelled out.
All spelled out, no spaces, no dots, just mrscalifornia2017.com, and all of the information that you need is on that website. You can contact me directly through there as well.
Is there anything else you want to let the people know?
Yes, I actually have a big event coming up tomorrow, which is July 23rd. It's called Pageant for a Purpose. It's a fundraiser. There's going to be art. There's going to be silent auctions, food, music. Tickets for that are also available on my website if anyone wants to come out and support Mrs. California.
Gotcha. And you'll have some information in the description as well?
Absolutely, yes. There's all kinds of information and details on the website under events.
Awesome. Well, Kristi, it's been an honor to have you back again, and I hope that we can have you back a third time, yes. After the Mrs. America competition, and we wish you all the best. We know that you have everything it takes to be on that big stage and to do your thing, and so we wish you well. I know you have a lot of people out there supporting you and your platform, and you're just an inspiration to me, to all the young girls out there, to women of your own age, to men, to married couples. And we're behind you. And it's just so glad to have an example of someone who, decided to do something and just got on that path and is accomplishing what she needs to do towards her worthy goal. So amazing job. We are all proud of you. I know your husband must just be grinning from ear to ear, and we wish you the best. This has been awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And all the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Please go to our website, support this endeavor, and we'll see you next time.